Good. So what we're going to cover today, we're going to talk about the geometries, the different reference geometries, and how we'll be able to, look at them to the different views, and how we'll be able to create the new datum planes. So I started a little bit to talking about that for a previous session, but I haven't go to that much into details, and that's what we are aiming to do it today. Also, I talk about a different coordination system and how we'll be able to create the new coordination systems, and also we will start to go into the details of the normal extrude we used to do. So we'll give you a few more options for the extrude, and of course the extrude CAD or extrude subtract. We call it in Siemens NX, and then we have 3 tutorials. Hopefully we'll be able to do all of them together today. If not, so I will go through the one that we have time, and then at the end I will just tell you how you need to do the rest of it at your own time. Great. So once we have each part consists of the different features, and so I think by now you would be able to just say what kind of features it has. So technically, for instance, this one is a normal sketch has been extruded. This one is another one that actually has been extruded. You have the extrude cut here. You have the hole over there. Even with the extrude cut, we would be able to do, create those. And also we would be able to even just make one side of it and then mirror the rest. So each of these, they will give you a kind of new coordinate for each of those sketches, and also the new plane. And this is something we were gonna work together today. So if probably you're familiar with this one, so whenever we start to create a new sketch, what I was saying, so usually we have to have a plane, and usually we start with the infer. The infer is basically you will have a plane on top of the plane that you already existed, and this is what we used to do for the past couple of sessions. But there are the different kind of ways that we would be able to make the new planes. We would be able to put them at a distance. We would be able to put them at a special angle. We would be able to even make it as a bisector between the 2 planes we have, on the curves, on the 2 lines, as a tangent to the curved surface, through the object once we have the point. And of course, we would be able to give the direction if we have the curve, or all of these planes that are existed, the YZ, XZ, and XY. So these are the planes that are actually coming from the main coordination system. I'm gonna show you an example how we'd be able to do that. So for instance, if you want to create it at a distance, I will say that actually the sketch that I have already has a face, so I would be able to use that one as a reference. So you should always have something as a reference, and you would be able to use at distance, which gives you an option to create a plane with a distance to the main reference plane that you're going to use. If you want to put that as an angle, so for instance, with this one, you might say you want to create an angular plane. You would be able to choose either a line or a face and consider that one as a reference and put it as an angle. If you already have 2 faces, you would be able to use that one to create a bisector plane, which exactly comes in the middle of those 2 planes. So you can either use those 2 inside or the one outside. So it depends where you want to have your bisector plane. If you have a curved area, you would be able to make a tangent plane to that curved area. If you already have the point and you want to create a point, you want to create a plane there, you can use that point as a reference, and then you would be able to create a plane there. Or even if you have the curve, you would be able to find a point there and create the plane over there as well. So then based on that, we have 2 options, the associative or non-associative. So associative is basically whenever you just, move the first reference, it would actually, move the rest of the planes that you use the associative option. So they're always associated with the reference one, whereas non-associative, so if you change the planes, it will stay there. But now let's practice those on the Siemens NX. I'm gonna show it to you how we'll be able to do it. Okay, great. So let's open the Siemens NX. Already done that. So I think you remember, you open the apps anywhere in here, and then you go to all the apps and then search for the Siemens. And the version we're going to use is 1888, but the slides will cover the version 12. 1880 is the most updated user interface, but they're quite close with each other. You don't see that much difference in the performance. So already have it open here, and that's this one. Okay, so what you need to do, I'm gonna create a new file. It's a modeling. Make sure for any time that actually you open or create a new file, name it and save it in your H drive, or where you would be able to have access to. So you don't need you don't lose your file. Just click OK. Great. So now let me create a new sketch. So whenever you create a new sketch, the first thing software asks you, you need to have the plane. And we used to use the on plane. So we used to just use any of the plane which has existed, the XZ1, the YZ1, the X, Y1. So these are the one actually existed. Now we're gonna talk about so let me see actually one of your friends. So do you see coding? So you can come back to it. So for any sketch, you should have a plane. So you always start sketching in the planes. So in order to practice, so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna make a rectangle and extrude, but this time what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna use the command. So if you go to the right side of the Siemens NX, what you see there, it says find the command. And this one is a really useful tool, even you have it in SolidWorks, but this one is better than SolidWorks. It's basically whatever you are looking for, you can just type it there. Let's say extrude, for instance. You can come there and type extrude. If I press enter, it would bring the extrude option. If I go over it, even it tells me where it is. So it tells me if I'm looking for the extrude, basically it's in here and I have to go and use it. So I'm going to use the feature called here a block. You don't need to know that one. The reason I'm just doing it because I don't want to make it a sketch and extrude it. So I'm going to just use the block as an example. And you give the dimension. So let's say 100, 100, 100 from that point, which is my main coordination, and automatically created this one. But technically, I had to make it a sketch and extrude it. Great. So now I'm going to talk about the planes. So if I go to the filter, if I go to the face, you see these are the filters you would be able to use. If you want to use the coordination, you can come here. If you want to pick the edge, I'm going to pick the face. Each of these has the plane. So whenever I'm going to do a sketching, each of the sides, of course, I can use it as the reference to my plane. And let's say I'm going to create a plane exactly on top of the cube that I have, which we call it invert. So what I need to do, I need to come here on the datum plane, and I will change this one to the invert. I'll pick one plane that's going to be my reference. Let's say this one. So what you see there, it's trying to create a plane for me with a distance of 0. With that plane, if I press OK, I have a plane on top of the cube that I have there. Now, let's say I'm going to make it another plane. So let me hide this one. Let's say I'm going to create another plane on the top. But now I'm going to put it with a distance. So let's say with a distance of 50. So what I need to do, just pick the one that's going to act as the reference for me, the reference plane. And it would be the face of the block. And if I zoom out, you see it actually is a 50 mil on top. If I'm going to bring it down, so it would be 50 mil down. So that's a reverse sign. You would be able to just choose there. And you press OK. So I have another plane there. So if I want to do a sketch, if I want to sketch on top of that plane, I would be able to do a sketch and extrude there. So this is how you would be able to make the new plane with the distance. Okay, of course, Prince. I will just repeat it again. So if I want to change anything here, I would be able to double click and I'll come back to that one there. So what you see here, usually you see like that. So if you go to the setting, you will be able to see there's the associative section option that actually has been ticked. So which means that whenever I move that face, whatever I do, the upper face would change based on that. And let's see what are those differences, and also it would be answer to your friend question, Prince, and I'm repeating how you would be able to create a new plane. So let's say I'm gonna create another plane. I'll go to the datum plane, and this time I'm gonna use the invert, let's say, and I'm gonna pick this one. So the distance would be 0, and I will tick associative, right? So you have a plane exactly on top of the the cube. But let's say I'm gonna change the length of the height of the cube. Let me go there, double click, and I will change the height to 50. So what do you see? The plane coming down. Okay, so the plane is not fixed, it's always associated with the reference. But now let's do it again. I'm gonna bring it back to the 100, and I'm gonna change the plane that I created and untick the associative. I'll click OK. You see that actually it become a fixed datum plane. So if I go back to the block and I will change this one to the 50, the plane will still sit there. So this one is really important whenever you want to create a plane. I would say the majority of time we go with the associative because we want to make sure like whenever we change the design, the plane would be able to just change according to the change you had. But then if you want that a plane would be fixed in a position, you make sure you just untick the associative. Is it clear? Should I continue? Or if you have any question, just please interrupt me and ask the question. Good. So now let's create another plane. So again, I'll go to the datum plane. So we tried invert, we tried distant. Let's create a plane with an angle. So with an angle, you should have a reference plane. Let's say this one gonna be the reference plane, and I should just pick a linear, a line that are gonna have that plane. Let's just choose that. And over there, I would be able to put an angle that I'm looking for, or actually there is an arrow there that I would be able to use that one to rotate the plane that I'm looking for. And whenever you rotate it, the angle would change as well. Or I can, of course, put it. So let's say put it as a 45 degrees, and I would just click OK, and you will have the angular plane there. So if in case I want to do a sketch with an angle to this one, I would be able to use that option in here. So this is how you would be able to make an angular plane. Let's use the bisector. So bisector, we use it when we have the two planes or two faces. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna pick this one as a first, and the second one, which is parallel to that, and we see I would have the bisector one, which is exactly in the middle, and I would be able to click OK. Something else, if you notice, whenever I create these planes, so usually you see like that, as I mentioned, you don't see any other option. If you go to the offsetting give you an option that you would be able to create a distance with it as well. So this one is exactly in the middle, but I can say, let's say you will have the 10 mil offset. So once you find the exact middle position, which is the bisector of those planes, and then you would be able to give the offset to it. We can do that even with the angular one, for instance. Let's go to the angular one, and if I set the offset, I would be able to give the distance to it. Let's put it as the 50, for instance. Let's see what happens. And we see that actually you're getting the distance. So technically you would have the distance at an angular. So you create it based on an angle and also distance with the reference you have. This is when we use the offset. So let's create another plane here. And so these I will come back to that one. Okay, let's create a tangent one. Okay, So in order to have the tangent, let me do a sketch on top of the model that I have here. Maybe just create a simple circle. And what I will do, I will extrude this one. Okay. And now what I'm gonna also make sure this one is not subtract is the unite, so it's a normal extrude. Okay, so let's say we have something like that, and we're gonna create a plane which is tangent to the cylinder we have. So I go to the datum plane, I can go to the tangent. I would be able to just pick that one, and we'll see that actually I have that plane which is tangent to the curve that I have. Even if I want, I would be able to just again an offset, or I can even reverse it back. So whenever I want to put that as distance, or if it's a kind of tangent one, I just pick that one which is a tangent option. There's another option there as well. So let's say the two lines. If I already have the two lines and I'm gonna create a plane which basically cover those two lines we use as a reference here. So let's pick this one, and of course this one, and then you will have the plane there. So that's creating a plane with using the two lines. So let's see what else we have. Let's go with the point and direction and on the curve. So let me create the new file. And let me do a sketch on an XY plane. So you can see the plane method I use invert, but of course you can create a new plane. And I don't know, let's pick up some points here. There. Okay. So I just use the points, and now I'm gonna connect them together with this option there. Okay, something like that. Let's say I have something like this, and I'm gonna create a plane on there. So if I go to the datum plane, I have the two options there. One of them is a curve and a point. So what I need to do, I just need to find a point that I'm gonna have that plane there, and you will be able to see. Then I would be able to just create a plane there, and even if I want, I would be able to just create an offset, so you give me a distance that I would be able to use. But if I want the plane actually goes through it, so the line goes through that plane, I would be able to go to the datum plane, and there's another option which is on the curve, and on the curve I have to just pick a point, and you see that actually the line goes through that plane. So I can just use the arc length. The arc length basically give me a distance based on where I need to have the plane. You see that whenever I actually play with that plane, the arc length will change, and also this one is a normal to the plane, so I can have it as a tangent, which become like that, or of course you can make it to the normal to the vector, that sort of things. So this is how we would be able to create a plane on the curve. The other things, there was 3 more options as well, and that's based on the planes that we already existed. So XZ1, the YZ1, and XY1. So the 3 planes we have as a reference over there, you would be able to see it there. I would be able to use those as a reference. So I can just come here and I can say, yeah, I want to have the X, the YZ plane automatically find the YZ plane for me. And I can even keep the distance as a 0, or I would be able to put as a distance, for instance. You would be able to see that actually it's created a plane based on the YZ plane, which is already existed. Okay, so is it clear, and should I continue, or do you have any question? Good. So it's clear for 4 people. I'm just waiting for the rest of you to see whether you have any question or not. Good. So now the same sort of things we've done with creating a new plane, we'll be able to create a coordination system. So we have the option to create a dynamic one, which we can use the either absolute. So the absolute in the coordination system is always 0, 0, 0. Probably, you've practiced that one last year with the I Make a Design challenge, and we have the different coordination systems. So we can use the word coordination system that you will be able to put it at a distance with the main coordination system or absolute system we have, which is 0, 0, 0. And the coordination system is important because based on those coordination, we will be able to give the dimensions according to those, and they are really important, especially when we are doing the assembly, because we will use these coordination systems in assembly. Even we use these coordination system if you are using the machining, for instance, if you are using the computer-aided machine, which we're going to do next semester. So if you remember from the last year, as a part of the methodology, we talk about how CNC machine works. And if you remember, we were talking about the parts, they have their own coordination systems, and we have to define in the machine. Otherwise, the CNC machine won't be able to follow the coordinations. So we would be able to create a dynamic coordination system. And if I put that one, then I can put distance or the point that I'm looking for to have the coordination system, as you can see here. So I can put the X, Y, Z of the coordination system according to the absolute, which is always 0, 0, 0. And then, of course, I can just put it at the distance of the coordination, which is available. I will just show it to you in a second. You will be able to pick a point on your design and create the coordination system from there. Whenever we have 3 planes, technically, because these are 3, they will be able to give me the X, Y, and Z of those. So once we have the 3 planes, I will be able to use those to create a coordination system. Or I can use offset. Offset is like a distance. You just create a new coordinate system based on the existing coordinate system you have, which the only difference is just the distance between those. And again, as I mentioned before, so there you have the option, you can have it as the associative or inferred. So the associative would always change based on if you change the main coordination system. And also the same thing for the axis. You would be able to just create the axis the same as what we created. We would be able to create it on the curve. So all of these are exactly like each other. So if you know how we can create a plane, it's exactly the same things for the axis. You would be able to create an axis over there, so you can connect the 2 points there. So technically you will have an axis there. So the axis will help you once you're using, for instance, revolve. So revolve would rotate around that axis. So you would be able to create an axis over there as well. And let's practice this one together again. Okay, so we'll go back to the main model that I created there. And now, so this time I'm gonna create a new datum coordination system. If I go to the first one, you see that's the coordination, the main one that I used. And this one is a 0, 0, 0. So whenever I create a new sketch, let's create a new file. If I go to the model, the software always give me a coordination system, which is 0, 0, 0. This one is an absolute. So based on that, I would be able to create the new coordinations system. So let's go back to the design that I have here, and now go to the datum. And this one, let's go and use the dynamic. So in the dynamic, I would be able to just move this one whenever I want. So if you see, whenever I move it, the X, Y, and Z moves. I can move the X, I can move in the Z direction, I can move in the Y direction, or even I can put the numbers in here. So let's say 0, 0, 0. What you see, it goes exactly to the corner of there, which is basically the absolute I have, and also this one because I rotated it. So you would be able to rotate them as well. So you would be able to rotate it in angular and also snap it. Or I would be able to just move it to whenever I want. Let's say, let's go 50 up, for instance. And we'll see that actually I create a coordination system, and there, and over there I have the coordination system. This one I use an angular. Okay. So we'll do it again one more time. With the dynamic, you would be able to put the numbers here. So let's take it to, I don't know, let's change the Y. here. Just move that one. And you will see that actually it's from there, it jumped there. So this one is considered 0, 0, 0, which is my reference. I would be able to create a dynamic coordination system there. And the reference is the part coordination. I have the word line. I'll click OK. Next one, I'm going to use the exact same thing I've done, but rather than I use that one, I use the absolute. As I mentioned, absolute is 0, 0, 0. And then I would be able to just, again, move that one to what I'm looking for. Let's bring this one up. So the same sort of things we were doing, we would be able to do in here. So the exact same thing we were doing. So if in case you want, I don't know, to have the coordination system exactly in the middle, I would be able to use that one. And this is really useful, especially once you have the symmetrical design. It would be quite easier for you once you're gonna assemble the parts if you have the coordination system in the middle of the part you have. And there are the different ways of doing it. So I can make it as an inferred. So basically with the inferred, I need to just choose a coordination system that has already existed. And I need to just pick a point that I'm gonna have a coordination system. And you can see I will have the coordination system exactly on top of the coordination system which is available. So what you need to do, you pick the coordination system that you're gonna use and a point where you want to have it. So I can just pick that coordination system from there, but rather than I just pick that one, I just choose that one as a corner. So it would goes there. So this is one other way you would be able to create a coordination system. Let's do another one. So these are really simple if you start practicing. Let's do the 3 planes, for instance. The 3 planes, I have to have 3 planes. Let's pick this one as the X, this one as the Y. I'll pick this one as a Z, so that I will have the coordination system exactly in the corner. And you will see that actually this is the coordination system that they created for me. And that's this one. This is another way you would be able to do. The same sort of things for the axis. If I go to the axis, I would be able to just choose any of these lines, and then it automatically creates an axis for me. And that I can even have it in the direction, or I would be able to just reverse it back. Let's create another axis. And let's pick this one, for instance. You see that actually I would be able to create an axis there. The same sort of thing. So I would be able to use the curve if I have any curve there. If I have the 2 points, I would be able to connect them together. So basically, I can just pick this point and that point. You will see that actually I have an axis there. So then I would be able to use that one if in case I want to rotate the part around that axis. So these are all really simple one. And if, as I mentioned, if you know how would be able to create the new planes, it would quite straightforward for you to just do these sort of things. So please, in your own time, go back and practice those. This slide tells you how you would be able to do it, or then you can come back to the video. But the other thing, so if you remember, last time we were talking about the extrudes, I told you that whenever we do an extrude, whenever you use the feature, you would be able to use the Boolean. And a Boolean is the one that tells us what we need to do with that feature. So let's see what I mean by that. Let me create a completely new one so you would be able to understand what I mean. And I'm gonna make it a sketch in the XY plane that I'm happy with. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna make a rectangle. And I will finish the sketch. I will extrude this one. And I'll put the length that how much extrude I'm gonna have, which is 50 in this case. And I'll click OK, right? So the next one, what I can do, I can pick the sketch, and let's say I'm gonna sketch on top of here, and I'm gonna make rectangle there, and I will finish that sketch. So what I will do, I will again do a normal extrude, and I'll click OK. Right? So we have 2 extruded bodies. If I go to the filter here, and if I go to the solid bodies, you'll see that I have 2 different solid bodies. Whereas what you're doing, you're designing one single part, right? So it's a one single part. So you should have one single body. Sometimes you prefer to have the two different bodies, but mainly it's a one solid body. Otherwise, for manufacturing, if you are using computer-aided manufacturing, it would cause you a problem. If you are using the finite elements modeling, if you are studying the analysis, because they are not connected to each other, so it means they are not glued on each other. So become independent, you will have the issues. If you are doing the assembly, it will cause you an issue as well. So always whenever you working on a one single part, the majority of time we try to make it as a unite, which technically we are gluing them on top of each other. So if you go to the extrude, now I would be able to use a Boolean unite. So the unite join those two together, and automatic solver find the other one, the other part, which is this one, and use that one as a reference body. And now those two, they're connected to each other. So if I go to the filter, solid body, I would have one single solid body. Okay, so I'll repeat it one more time for you. Let's say I'm gonna do a sketch on top of this one. So what I will do, I will go to the sketch, pick that plane, or click OK. Let's make a circle this time. Okay, and I will do a finish a sketch. I will create sorry, let me finish this one. I will use that as sketch, which is this one. So we extrude that. And normally the Boolean is none. If I click OK, you see that actually I have two different solid bodies. So if I want to have one single solid body, I can come back to it. I can change the Boolean to the unite, and I will be able to click OK. So this is the same sort of things I was saying. We also have the subtract. So basically subtract is cut. So the people who work with the AutoCAD, the 3D AutoCAD or SolidWorks, they're familiar with the cut or extrude cut. And in Siemens NX, they call it the subtract. So whenever I have a sketch, let me untick this one. Let me pick this one. Okay. Let's say I have that sketch and I'm gonna do a cut. So what I will be able to do, I will be able to go to the extrude, and I will be able to just pick one, the sketch that I have. But what I will do, so this one is a normal extrude. If you come to the Boolean, and if I change this one to the subtract, now it changed it to the extrude cut. But I have to bring it down. So it's outer, so I have to bring it inside. And let's put it here. Or I can put the distance. So how much cut you want to have. Let's cut it with the 40 millimeter. And if I click OK, you will be able to see that actually I've created an extrude cut or extrude subtract here. Now, if I go to the view, if I go with the static wireframe, you will be able to see that this is where I have the cut. So let me come back to that sketch, to that extrude that I have on the sketch. So let me delete it again. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna do it one more time. So I pick the sketch that I have, I'm gonna use as a subtract. I'll reverse it back. So you can either use this one, of course you can just rotate that. And in here, I have few more options. So what I have here, I have that option until next. So what until next does, it find the next plane which is available and use that one as where you want to have the end of the cut. So if I do that, or click OK, you will be able to actually cut through that plane. So whatever actually face it's available there, you would be able to use that one. And what else? If I go to the extrude, if I want to just have the through all, so the through all basically goes through all the body. So if you don't want to use a dimension, so you can use a through all. So it just goes and cut it through. You have two more options as well over there. So the until selected, you pick the plane. where you want to have that cut to. So you would be able to just choose the plane that you want to have there. So what I can do, let's say, let me get rid of this one. Let's say I already have the plane in the middle. Let me go and create a plane. I'm gonna use the bisector one. Let's say I have the plane between this one and this one. So I have the plane there. And if I click OK, and now I'm gonna use that sketch to subtract, reverse with the value. So we'll say until selected, and I will just pick that plane. And if you have a look, it just cut up to that plane. It doesn't cut more than that, and I don't need to give any dimension. So I just pick where I want to have that cut. And also you have the until extended as well. So until extended is basically when you have the curved area, you would be able to use that option that actually wants to do a cut, so it goes and cuts through only through that curved area. The same sort of things I've mentioned here, let me get rid of these, it applies to the normal extrude as well. So if I go to the extrude, right, then I give the value here, I would be able to use those options. The symmetrical value, it gives me an extrude from both directions. So let's say if I put the symmetrical, you can see from each direction, it extrudes a 50 mil and a 50 mil. So I can use the symmetrical, for instance. Or you can use the until selected. So if there is another plane or if there is another face available, I would be able to use that one. Or until extended, as I mentioned. So if you have the curved area, you would be able to do that. Let's practice. Let's do something as an example on until extended, so that would be easier for you to understand. So let me create a new plane from let's create a plane from here with a distance of 50. And I have the plane there, and I'm gonna do a sketch on that plane. And let me create it goes exactly in the middle. It's something like that. Okay. And now, of course, if I wanna extrude that one, you should already know, I'll just pick the sketch that I have, change this one to the normal extrude, so it's a none. I will change the direction of it, so I can click OK. So that's the normal extrude I have from there, right? Another way, come back to that one. So I'm gonna pick a value until selected, and I'm gonna say don't worry about it, edge blend, we will the hello. Can you hear me now? Okay, I don't know what happened. Probably my internet has been disconnected. Good. So let me share my screen one more time. Good. With the rest. Okay. So now I'm gonna make a curve on the top. Don't worry about it. Edge blend, we cover it for the next few sessions. Let me create something like that. Okay. Click OK. What you will be able to see that, do you see here? It actually doesn't touch that surface fully. So you don't have the curve here because you just use the normal extrude, right? You see that? Okay, you have the gap there. So in order to get rid of that one, so the method that I need to use for the extrude is extrude until extended. If I choose this one, if I choose until extended, and I will pick this one, click OK, what you will be able to see there, So technically, because I've done the blend out before that, let me do it there. Okay, so let me do the edge blend here and there. And now I do extrude. So the steps, they're really important, what you will be able to do until extended. Or just pick this one, click OK. So what you will be able to do, you see that actually is extended, so you have the curve on the top. You see that? So this is when you will have the until extended. So whenever we have the curved area, you want to extrude, completely cover that one. And now if I just pick this one and change that one to the unite with the main body that I have, it's absolutely a really good, connection together. Is it fully connected, both of them together? So is it clear? Did you get that? So we just create a poll. Please let me know if you're happy, then I will continue with the rest of it. So as I mentioned, all of these techniques, it needs practice. So you will find out actually when you actually require to do those. Great. So thank you for participating in the polls, because this is the only way that I will be able to find out actually whether everything's clear for you or not. And if you go through the slide, even the slide, they're telling the same sort of thing. So you will be able to see the until selected. You will be able to see the until extended, the difference. So the selected, you just choose where you want to finish. So extended, automatically extended if you have the curvature. Through all, it goes through all the bodies. And let's see, we have something else called project curve. Project curve is a really useful one. So technically you have then a sketch there and you need to repeat it one more time. So rather than you just do that, so you can use something called project curve. Let's create something like that. Let me create a new file. And I'm gonna create a new sketch. X, Y, I'm happy with it. So let me create, I don't know, a line there. And let's say I have the circle there. And I'm gonna connect the lines as a tangent to that one. Tangent to this one again, not there. Tangent to the circle, good. I will create one more circle inside. Just look nicer. Do a trimming there. Okay, let's say we have something like that. And I'm gonna do an extrude. Let's extrude it for other direction 25. Okay, now I'm gonna do another sketch. I'm gonna use this plane this time. Click OK. Let me create yeah, let's create something like that. Okay, I've finished the sketch. I'll extrude this one. And if you remember, this one I will change it to the unite, so they become one for the body, and I will do it extrude of 50. Okay, great. Now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna create exactly what I've done in here on top of that one. So the typical way of doing it, if I go to the sketch, I can go on the top. If I click OK, I would see the design underneath. So what I can do, I can exactly follow what I was doing there. I don't need to even give any dimensions because everything is there, and I would be able to start sketching on top of what I was doing. But the more professional way of doing it, and I want to do exactly the same thing, if I go to the curve, you have an option called project curve. Even if you want, you can just type it there. But if in case you don't find it, so whenever you don't find any of these, just type in the command. I will be able to find it. I will tell you where you need to do. So this one is a project curve I'm gonna do. If I go to the project curve, I can pick the curve that I'm looking to copy. So, or project, let's say, and it's this one. So as you can see, it picked that one for me. It will tell me where do you want to have it. Let's pick the plane that I'm gonna have. So I'm gonna choose that one. You can see automatically created for me. Now, if I want to extrude it one more time, so go to the project curve and extrude of 25, for instance. If I click OK, you can see without I do any kind of a sketching with the project curve, I would be able to do that. Okay, so we'll just show it one more time to you, in case you want to find out actually what I've done. So whenever you have a sketch and you want to project it on the other plane, you should have the other plane. You would be able to go to the curve, project curve, pick the curve you want to do. Either you can just pick every single line, or I already have the ready to use a sketch. Where do you want to have it? I choose that plane, and automatically it's created for me, and it's projected there. Great. Everything's fine. Good. So now what I want you to do, please, I want you to connect to the KU desktop anywhere and try to do this tutorial. So in order to do this tutorial, let me show it in a full screen. So it consists of the different features. You will see that this one is the side view of it. So this one is the other view, and that's the top view you have from there. So there are different ways of doing it. So technically, you are creating that block. You are doing that cut there. You are doing a cut there, or subtract, let's say. Then you have an extrude from this one, and the cut, do a cut, and do a cut. This is one way of doing it. There's another way. You just create an L shape and extrude. And then once you extrude it, do this cut, do that cut, create that cut, and create the other cut. Okay, so I'm gonna give you, this one takes a little bit more time. It's quite simple, but you need to find out actually what are the steps you need to follow. I'm gonna give you 15 minutes time. So please connect to your virtual machine and try to do it. So also, if you want to find out more about it, so where it is, so if you go to your canvas, for the ME5013, that's the module we're covering. If you go to the first one, design, communication, 3D CAD modeling, and it's the parametric modeling techniques we are doing. And if you remember, I was saying in the tutorials, I'll always upload the PDF files over there. So we are covering the chapter 5. If you go to the chapter 5, you would be able to find it there. That this is what you're doing, and we are doing the tutorial, the first tutorial. Also, there is some kind of help that will tell you how you'd be able to. So this one is an interesting method. You just create a line and with the offset, or you can have the two, the normal extrude. So you just make the rectangular, do an extrude. Once you do that, you do a cut here. You do another cut there. You do this cut, and you do another cut, and that's it. So I'm gonna give you 15 minutes time. So hopefully you will be able to do it within that time, and I will, share this one so you can have the dimensions there. And please ask me a question if in case you have a question. So we'll start the recording again. Great. So as I said, there is the different way that you would be able to do that one, especially the first part of it. And I'm gonna tell you what I mean by that. So whenever you see something like that, you would say, okay, I will do a rectangle and extrude, and I will do a rectangle and extrude. For instance, I'll create a new file, new model, name, folder that I'm looking for to save it. And let's say this time I'll choose, I don't know, XZ plane. This one I think would do better. Technically, what you might say, it's better that you do something like that. I don't use the correct dimension, but I want to tell you what it is. And then something like this, and then here you would be able to make a sketch there, like that, and then to extrude unders with the, right? So this is something you would be able to do in order to make that one. But there is a, I would say, more professional way of doing it, and this is something I'm gonna show you what you need to do. Okay, so let me get rid of that sketch. Great. So what you have here, you have the coordination system there. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna use the XZ one. Let me pick that one, for instance. It doesn't matter, but let's pick this one, and I click OK. So now I'll just make two lines, 1 and 2. The dimension that I have is 145 and 90. 145. And what else that I have? Let me bring it in the middle. And I have this one as 90. Okay. Let me make sure actually it's correct. So what I know is 145 and 90. Okay. Now I will just finish the sketch that I have here. And if I want to do the extrude, let's say I'm going to extrude this one. I go there and I will extrude something like that. Okay. But you see that actually doesn't have the depth. So the first, what I know, that length, so the total extrude that I should have on the sides is 72. Where I got that number is that number. That's the side view of it. That's the top view of it. So it tells me that actually what should be there. That one. But I'm gonna use that one as the main what do you call it? A kind of a reference to make it symmetrical. So 36 and 36. So we'll come back to this one. I will change the value metric as a symmetrical, and I'll put 36, right? So the results. So you would have something like that, but it still doesn't have depth, right? So what I would be able to do, you have an option here called offset. In last session, I talked about it. I can come here, pick the two-sided. Now I can give the depth to it. And it's the 25. So the thickness that I was required, that was a 25. But if I put that one in here, so I have to reverse that one, but let's see what I mean. If I put that one to 25 on that side, this one become 90 plus 25. Whereas this one are gonna stay 90. So what I will do, I will just reverse that one, say this one still would become 90, this one is 145, and the thickness that I have from there to there is 25 offset based on how much extrude I should have. Simple. So rather than I do two different extrude, I've just combined them into the one, and I used an offset feature. Okay. The rest is quite simple. So what I have here, I know I have to do a cut there, and the dimension that I have from it is a 72 with the 6, and the cut that I have is the length of the 50. So that's the view that I have. So what I need to do, I need to go to the sketch, pick a plane that I'm going to operate. It's this plane I'm going to use. Make sure I'm in the correct plane. Yes. I'll click OK. What I will do, I will just make a rectangle. And what I know is a 72 by 6. Done. I will finish the sketch. I'll go to the extrude, pick the sketch that I have, change this one to the subtract, and I will do it in the reverse side because it's gonna go inside of it. And how much does it want to cut? It's 50. I'll click OK. Quite simple. Okay. And now let's see which one is remaining. So let's do that cut over there. In terms of sketching it, what I know, it has the radius 12 there. So technically, this one is 24. because I have the circle over there, and that line is 50, and that distance between this one and this one, if this one is 72, that one is 36, so technically this one become 24 as well. Okay, so let's go back to that. What I'm gonna do a sketch on that plane. So do you see that actually the planes are really important, but basically because the plane is existed, I'll use the invert. I don't need to create a new plane. And what I have there is just this one is the middle of it. So let me create let me see actually which plane did I pick. It's correct plane. Yeah. I want to make sure that actually I'm in the correct one. Yeah, I am. Okay. So let me pick the plane and I'm gonna do an operation there. What I will be able to do, I'm gonna just use. See why it's giving me the error. I shouldn't get any error, but let me see. Okay. I don't know what was wrong with the rectangle, but it shouldn't cause me a problem. Okay, so and then so what I need to do, I have this one as the 24, and I think I can do it better. Let me do that one. I'm just thinking that if I want to give dimension to it, it will be so many dimensions that I have to follow. So let's go with the circle, and I'm gonna find the middle of this one, which is there. I will continue and then create a circle there. What I know is the radius 12, the diameter is 24. I think that would be better. Good. And what I will then do is make a rectangle out of it. Is the rectangle out of this one and this one, something like that. Okay, good. So the rectangle I have, this one should be 24. And what else? This one should be 50, which technically drives the circle because this one is connected together. And you can see these are perpendicular, this one is perpendicular, they're all connected on top of each other, and I have to just position this one. And what I know, that length, the distance between those two based on what the drawing tells me is 24. And this one is 24. That's it. I don't need to give this one because if I do the dimensioning for this one to this one, I technically become over-dimensional, over-defined. Do you see that? It's there. So make sure your sketches doesn't have any kind of red sign over there. It's quite common. I see lots of students do that mistake. Okay, so everything is ready, 50, 24, and now I have to get rid of these two lines. So if you remember how I would be able to do and delete the lines, it's the trimming. So just go there, get rid of this one, get rid of that one, make sure everything's connected together. Fine, brilliant. That's it. So I finished the sketch. Now I go and use that extrude cut or extrude subtract. I have to pick the sketch that I have and change this one to the subtract, in this case subtract, reverse it, and I have to mention how much I want to have the value of the cut. I can either put a value, as I mentioned, set through all, because it wants to go and cut through the body of the part, and that's it. So I've done that one as well. Quite simple, and it's exactly in the middle. So I've done that side as well. Let's see what's the next. So I've done this one, I've done that one, and now we have to do a sketch on there and then do a cut. So I will go with the sketch. I pick the plane that I want to operate. It's that plane for me. I will click OK. So what I have here is the I'm gonna start with the main. As I mentioned, there are different ways of doing it, but I think it would the best one if I go and create a circle in here with the, so what I know, that's the diameter of 60 based on the dimensioning there. And what I know, the center of it up to the bottom of the design has the difference of the distance of 48 if it lets me to move. Yeah, technically automatically find the exact point for me, exact the midpoint. If not, then you had to dimension it. In this case, it's already exactly in the middle. That's why the dimension, do you see that? It's exactly in the middle. You don't see to put that one, but otherwise you have to make sure actually it's in the middle. Then what I need to do is to just create a rectangle in the middle of it. And what I know about that rectangle is this one is 36. And everything's fine. So what I will be able to do, so into the creating a rectangle, you can do it two ways. So you can either come back and manually every single of these, you would be able to make it as the equal to each other, or you can, I would do both, or you can go to the rectangle and use this one, which always started from the center. Let's see what's the difference. So if I do from the center, then it automatically let me put the 0. So it automatically give me the option to just put this one as the 36. The width was, what was it? The width, this one was 36. Whatever, just it's okay. And then I would be able to just change this dimension in here. So as I said, it's a different way you would be able to do it, but let's do this one. And I'm gonna create something like that. Okay, so the dimension I'm gonna put, this one I know is 36. Let me come back to the main sketch to make sure it's correct. So what I know, we are doing that one. This one is 36, and that distance is 30. Probably if I put it, it makes me over-define, but I will try that one. And from the center, I was saying it's 48, and even it showed me to the 40, and this one is 72. For the 72, I don't need to give the dimension because basically cover everything. And even these ones, once it gives me the location of it, which was the edge of the extrude, let's say the distance between this one and that one, what we had there was 30. It automatically bring my design up. Let me see why it's trying to rotate. Let me get rid of these in here. I will get rid of those. I will get rid of these two. And this one is equal with that one. This one is equal with this one. And this one, this curve is equal with that one. So technically it brings everything is in inside. So what I've done, once I remove that one, automatic software realizes that these lines, they have equal length. This one with this one, they have the equal length. The arc with this one is equal length. If in case you don't get it, you should get it, I'm saying, but if in case you don't get it, as I mentioned before, you can always go to the geometric constraint and use this one equal length and tell the software that they should have the equal length. But automatically, as I mentioned, the software now realizes I want to have it exactly in the middle, and it will do it for me. So once it's there, I will go with extrude. I'll pick the sketch that I have, reverse directions, and I'm gonna do a extrude cut of 12 or subtract, let's say, and I will click OK. As you can see, it actually cut it for me. Don't know what the software is showing that bug over there. It shouldn't show that one if it's closed. Wait a second, not actually why. Sometimes Siemens NX do those, and whenever you have those, you have to just close the software to do it. But let me see whether, yeah, I have Okay, do you see what can be the issue? It can be about these lines that they are not vertical. They have to be because they're perpendicular. Let me double check. It happened to me in the morning that the solver was showing me the error, but then it's okay. Let's see whether it's everything's fine. Vertical, vertical. Okay. The solver didn't realize that these two lines are vertical, so I've made them to the vertical, and this one is correct. Still, this one show me an error. I will come back to it. So in your case, you shouldn't have any problem. I don't know what happened in my case. So 36, this one, and let me put that one with this one is 72. Okay. I don't know what's wrong over there, but it should be okay. I already have the model that I've done. Before that, I will show it to you. So once you do it, you shouldn't have any problem there. And once you do that, then you go to the sketch again one more time. But this time you use this plane. So this is what I was saying is really important. The first time we use that plane, but now you're going to use this plane. Click OK. So what I have is just normal circle that you want to do a cut there. And I think it was 24, but let me check the diameter. I think it was 24. Let me check. Yeah, it's the 24, and it's the extrude, cut, or subtract, and it's a true all. Pick this one, other directions, and I will change it to the true all, and that's it. So everything is fine. So let me show you the one that actually I've done earlier. What I've done earlier. So I'm gonna upload these files for you. That would be easier if in case you want to follow. Usually I don't upload them because I want you to go through the tutorial. But I think once they become a little bit more complicated, it would be easier for you to understand. So I'm going to show it to you the one that actually I've done earlier, and you shouldn't have any problem because the length was 72, unless something is not closed, because I've done it quite quickly. Great, let's wait for the machine to open the file for me. Okay, so as you can see, this is the one that actually I've done earlier. So basically what you're doing, let me hide everything. So then you just create a sketch, 145, 90. And then once you do that, you do an extrude. If you remember the extrude I was saying, so it's a 36 symmetrical. And then you do a two-side offset, but make sure the offset you are doing is in that direction. Because if I do it in the other direction, let's see what happens. It actually adds the length to this one, so become 90 plus 25. So make sure actually it's in that direction. And once you do that, then you do a sketch there with a 72 and 6. And then what you do, you use the cut and you do a extrude subtract of the 50, but actually cut that one. And once you do that, then you come to do a sketch on the top. It's the 50. Either you put this one as 24, or you can make the arc and put that one as an R12 or radius 12. You can either put the 2-dimension for this one or make this one as a tangent. So both of them is fine. You can either dimension or you can run it by the constraints. So these are different methods of doing it. Once you do the cut, so you do a true all subtract or true all cut, and then you come here and do a sketch. With the sketching, you have to make sure actually you position in the in the middle. These lines automatically the computer put it as the equivalent. These two automatically is vertical. I don't know what happened in my case that actually wasn't vertical. And then so it's a circle, a rectangle, which then been trimmed. And once you do that, as you can see, you will have a cut there, and it should work fine. So probably was a kind of a graphical error, or I didn't close the profile correctly. And once you do that, then you do the final sketch on that plane, which is a circle with the diameter of 24, and then you do a cut there. So it's quite simple. This one's quite simple, but you have to find actually the steps you need to take for that. Great. So let's go and do the second tutorial. And for this one, what you need to do, you're basically doing the two main features at the beginning. Three actually. So if you see here in the PowerPoint, you need to create this one first, and a sketch of that one. If you come to the side view, you can see that's what you need to make, just this one, just that one. Once you create this one, then you come to that plane on the bottom, just create that kind of rectangular shape one, this one. And let me go back. Yeah. So once you create that one, then you need to do another extrude of this one. So basically you can either create a new plane on the top or a sketch on here and then do a kind of two direction extrude. So both of them is fine. Of course, it's better to create a plane because it would be you're basically practicing what we've done today. And then make sure all of them you use the unite boolean. Once you do that, these are really simple holes that you need to create on the surfaces. So because we don't have much more time, I'm going to give you 10 more minutes. It would be really good if you can do it because this one is a little bit trickier, and I will show you to you how I've done it. Thank you. And also you can ask a question because I will be here. So as a quick, some hints that you would be able to see how you can follow that one. If you go through the tutorial, it clearly documented that you just do that sketch first, and then you do an extrude. And once you do that, you pick the plane on the bottom of it. Do that simple sketch with a radius of 16 and length of the 18 from the middle of that circle. So basically it's a full circle, and then we connect it as a tangent. These are the tangent sign, and then we trimmed. And once you do that, then you do extrude, and then it's the time you have to draw that one, which is the one that actually I was saying that you have to go and create a plane. And then you create these holes later. So you can just do one or you can use the pattern. So I'm going to give you a couple of more minutes, then I will show it to you how you can do it. Then I will explain the third one as well, but you don't go through the third one. I'll just explain how we can do it at your own time. I'm going to give you more couple of minutes, so hopefully you can reach to that stage because this is the important one. And please ask me a question if in case you have a question. Thank you. Okay, sorry, I was on mute. That's the reason. Okay, so goes over. I will talk over it. Hopefully, you can hear me now, right? Good. So let me go back and again. So once you're doing this one, so as you've seen, these are the three different main stages you have to do, and these are the things you will learn based on how much practice you put and your own time to see what are the methods of doing it. But the method that I was explaining is the first one. You first do that sketch. So this is the one that I've done earlier, and I will go back to those. Hopefully it doesn't give me error because I've used the unite in here. Let me do it again. So let me ununite them. So the software lets me then come back to every single of those things that I was doing. Good. I don't need this one. I don't need that one, this one. Okay. So first, you create a sketch, and that's the first sketch you need to make. Okay. It's really simple sketch. You already have the dimensions. You just create that one. And that's the sketch you need to make, this one. Right? So once you create that sketch, then you extrude it. The total extrude is 60, but because I want to make it symmetrical, I extrude 30 on each side. And where did I get that number? It's that 60, right? So just extrude that one. Once you extrude that one, then you need to do another sketch, which is this one. So in order to reach there, let me ununite this one as well so you can see it. So once you have this one, you go to the sketch, pick that one, pick that plane. The reason you're gonna pick that plane is because where you want to do a sketch. Once you do that, then you sketch this one. Something simple. So you have a full circle, and the circle that you have, they are dimensioned in here. So you have the outer one has a diameter of 32, inner one has a diameter of 22. You make those, and you just make that line and create those two lines, but make sure once you create them, they are tangents. So once you're creating the line, if you do it like that, it automatically gives you, do you see that? Actually, it automatically gives you the option to make it as a tangent. So once you do that, then you do a trimming. And once you've done the trimming, if you come out of a sketch, you have something like that. You just need to extrude it onto the other plane. You can either put a dimension, you can say you're gonna extrude it with the extrude of the 30 or whatever that was the length, or of course, easy one, right? Then you just put extrude. You can say until extended or until selected, and just pick that plane which is there, and you have it. Make sure you just click on unite, so both of them, they will add together. So once you've done that, then the other part, which is the important one in here, it's how you'll be able to create this one. So I create a plane first with the distance of 40, because I'm gonna have the extrude of 40 here. Okay, so what I've done, I just created a plane there, and if you can see that I created a plane from where I have those cuts. So once you see the cut, so I know actually that this is the one I actually have there, and then you need to do a sketch on top of that. So you just pick that plane and start sketching. Two ways you can do that. You can easily, use these circles, go over on them because they already have the sketch underneath. You can use those, or you can use project here. Both of them is absolutely fine. I think this way I just use the normal drawing circles, and I don't need to dimension it because everything would be dependent based on the sketch which is underneath. And once I've done that, you can see this is what I have. Then I just extruded it. And I extruded it with the length of 60. This is the dimension that I have from the file, and I use unite, so they all add together, as you can see there. And technically that's it. The rest, they're quite simple, and you should already know how we can do that. So you just pick that one, make the two circles, This is quite simple. I'm sure you can do it, especially the one that actually stayed so far. I'm sure actually you're practicing more on the software. You sketch those, do an extrude, the same things, and you sketch on those planes. Either you can have one circle and then use the pattern with a distance of 20, or this time I think that was easier for me. Just made 3 circles, put the dimension for each of those, and put the distance between them, and I've done extrude. That's it. So it's quite simple. This is how I've done that. So I will quickly show you how we can do the third one. Please do the third one at your own time, because third one, the only tricky part is just that a slope over there, which you have the angular plane. It's quite simple. So you already know the thing. So what you need to do, you need to create that sketch first, which gives you that look. And once you do that, let me go back to this one. So you created a sketch, which is this one. Let me hide everything. So you just create that sketch. It takes a little bit time to make it, but it's 2D sketching. I'm sure you would be able to do it. Once you do that, and then you extrude it. A normal extrude. Let me unshow these. This one I have to ununite it, so I will be able to tell you what you need to do. Okay. Okay, you just make that one. Okay, that's the normal extrude. Then I created a plane over there, and I created as an angular. So that's the angular plane. Do you see that? And the dimension, you can get it from here. It tells you what's the angle you need to use. And the angle I got it is from here. So it tells me 45 degrees. I just created that one. And once I created that one, I started sketching on top of it, which is this one. These two, forget it. I don't know why I have it there. I'm going to upload the file for you so you can compare it with what you've done. Just a normal sketch, and you have the dimension, everything there. And once you do that, it's a normal extrude. But the extrude that I use this time is until next. And I think you remember that. What's the reason we are doing? It's until next because it automatically find the next available face for you, and then automatically do it for you, and that's it. So it's just the whole that you do, and then you do a cut, which is a true all. So it's quite simple, but the only tricky part was just that angle, and you can find out that actually what's the reason we should have the angular planes. Otherwise, it's really hard to do this one. Okay, so please do it at your own time, and please be in touch with me. You have my email address. You can contact me through the emails. Also, if in case you have the question, so just practice that one. The next time we have the tutorial, you can ask from me. This is the same thing I used to do even in class. I usually don't prefer to just do the tutorials for the student unless they actually ask me to do, because that will be the way that you would be able to just practice at your own time. So even in the class, I was just showing to them, this is how you need to do it. And then the student used to raise their hands and ask me, okay, what's this stage should I do now? What's this stage should I do? Because otherwise you won't be able to get it what I'm doing. Yeah, I can just talk for hours and hours, but these are all depends on the practice. That's what you need to do. So do you have any question before actually we end up the session? I know it's quite late for you on the day. You had a few sessions in the morning as well, so you should be tired. Okay, great. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot for staying. So I will say the students last year that even they attended the tutorials and they've practiced, they get a really good mark at the end. And even at the end of the sessions, I think it was the session 8-9, they were quite advanced. They were telling me something, and actually I wasn't aware that actually Siemens has those features. So it's really good if you can practice at your own time. You're actually contributing a lot in your future, because if in case you want to work as a design engineer in the industry, Siemens NX or any other of these CAD software, they're almost the same. And whenever you do more practice, you become more professional in that one. Thank you so much for staying till 6 o'clock with me. Have a lovely evening, and see you next week. please be in touch with me if in case you have a question. Take care.